On these bikes I was involved in the styling of the engine, and I've also done a little bit of the Interceptor, bits of the tank, and the new emblem, which is a direct connection to the tank emblem of the old Interceptor, which you can see in here.
The old one. And how was the process? We start with the old one and thinking new things to...
I know, the development is never as linear as people think. There's a lot of going back and forwards with dimensions and specifications and trying to understand exactly what our customers will like. So there's been a couple of iterations. The bike has changed slightly proportion and size over the time of the project, and hopefully this is the sweet spot.
The engine is one of the most beautiful parts in this bike.
Oh, wow,
for sure, the whole thing is very beautiful, but the engine is especially is very well designed. It was a challenge to maintain a classic design for a modern engine.
It was in a bit. I mean, it's going to be more and more difficult to have classic-looking engines. I think we really wanted to keep it as authentic as possible. I don't like to use the word retro. The bikes are authentic. They're not a copy of something that we did in the past. It's an evolution. It's its own thing. Some people, when the bike was launched in Milan, they came up and they said, "Oh, do you bring this engine to Euro 5?" They said, "Yeah, of course." They said, "How did you do it? It's an old engine." So if people don't see that this is a new engine, I'm so happy, because it needs to look classical. If you come in, in a way, what we wanted to capture is the essence of the engine of the original Interceptor, which is why we kept the side covers very clean. It was very important to maintain this section here that goes all around the covers. And also, a lot of engines today, they have a single line from valve cover to head to barrel. We wanted to keep this very unique character, which is a very muscular head and then a very slender barrel with a little bit of a gap before you get to the crankcases. And you will find exactly these cues in the new engine that we've done. Of course, this is a very traditional engine. Ours inside is state-of-the-art. It's got a 270 degrees crank setup, firing setup, so it's got a very good character, almost like a V-twin. At the same time, it's got a balance and shafting. Actually, if you follow me, you can see.
All right. Okay.
This is a cut-out model of the engine, and you can see inside there's a balancing shaft in the front to reduce the vibrations that you don't want, and then 270 firing order will keep and enhance the vibrations that you do want. And as I've explained before, again, there was nothing too creative. If you have such a good base, it was a case of bringing a modern interpretation of what I've just explained before. A very muscular head to enhance the movement that comes from the throttle bodies into the engine and out to the silencer, and a very nice and tight, thin waist, thinner than mine, I have to say, thin waist barrel to give a nice, Coke bottle shape.
So the combustion ratio is much better compared to any other engines of the RE segment?
This, absolutely, it's a step forward. This is a very, very modern engine.
Nice.
You should try it out.
I'm gonna buy it.
You know what? Me too. 100%. We're all actually. It's so nice.
I already have the 535.
All the people who have worked on this, they're all already waiting in line to place their own order. It's like if you go to a restaurant. If the cooks are eating their own food, it means that you're okay. Wow. So you know what? This is the bike that we want for ourselves.
So excited. So good to see it in flesh. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. My pleasure.
I'll put it on my channel.
Thank you so much.
Raymond. Yeah. Now. Ready?
And how about the vibration? That's the subject that everybody always rise when are talking about classic.
There are good vibrations and bad vibrations. I mean, what you want. And by all means, I'm not trying to take credit for work that has been done by my colleagues. I've only concentrated on the exterior of the engine. We have very, very experienced engineers that have taken care of all the internals. So feel a bit out of place about giving you technical answers. But anyway, the idea about this engine is again to make sure that you have the good vibrations that you want about the firing order, and everything else is as smooth as possible. So you will be surprised when you ride the engine by how smooth the delivery is. I tried it on our test track in Brighton.
Did you have the experience with this?
Of course, yeah, we rode it. Not as fast as our chief test rider, Paul Young. He's really quick. I'm more on the safe and careful side. It's a 650 air cooled, so don't expect to be blown away. It's by no means a super bike, but the power delivery is really competent and smooth, and it's a very good machine to ride.
How about the process? All the process nowadays is doing in a computer, or you have some draws
of course,
by hand?
We brought in very experienced people about CAD, and even all these surfaces, they've all been programmed by the computer. But if you only stick the computer to the computer, you lose touch with reality. So in fact, the best way to develop something today is you start with the computer around the technical requirements. You make your surfaces, you mill them out, you modify them by hand, and then you capture what you've modified and you bring it back to the computer. You really need to have a reality check. Our company is really very much a hands-on company. People like doing stuff by hand as well. So it really is the best of both worlds. It's the precision of the computer work and the soul of the hand. Well, there is also a bit. I mean, you might have seen in bits of the video. There was actually a model of the engine which was on a big screen. That it was a computer model. That had precisely, it was after we had approved all these changes, because when you make a model in-house, it's usually made out of synthetic materials, so you can never reproduce this chrome. So one way that the computer helps with the modern technology is that you can have very photorealistic renderings of every single material that you're going to use, and you can really get a accurate impression of what you're going to get. The chrome is so important for us. Most of the Royal Enfields that you have seen until now, they're famous for the pinstripe, but mostly the Royal Enfield logo has been a decal. Yeah. With the Interceptor, we have reintroduced this.
The same.
No, it's not the same. No, of course, this
the same idea.
Is the 60s and 70s emblem for the tank, which has a crown, wings, a Royal Enfield logo, and 3 bullets. Made like a gun.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you now follow me to the new bike.
That's an important detail.
There is now, the very much refreshed version of this badge. As you can see, the elements are the same. The technology has moved on, so this is much more precise. We have kept the traditional elements of the crown and the wings and the 3 bullet heads, but of course this has our latest, corporate logo, which has been repositioned and reproportioned. And
very interesting.
Hopefully it's a nice bit of jewelry that people will, have on the tanks. Maybe people will start stealing them. I don't know.
No. Beautiful.
Everything. I mean, there are so many little things that we've considered. Like, for example, this is the logo. The original Interceptor did not have a decal because it was not used at the time. So the inspiration for this was clearly for one of the brochures that came from the time, with this typeface and the arrow going through. And of course, the arrow going through means that if you go to the other side, the arrow is going the other way. The arrow should never go back; it should always go forward.
Good to know. Very interesting details.
Something else that I don't think is done much in motorcycle is the quilted leather on the seat. Usually you have ribbing or horizontal stripe. Quilted is actually something a bit quirky, which you might start seeing. It's appeared now in custom cars or luxury cars like Bugatti, and we decided, well, why not? We're going to try and be different here and try to
bring some luxury to.
It's all about the textures. The shapes are very simple, but we are trying to introduce a certain depth of textures where your eye would normally be drawn to. I mean, the idea is that there are so many products out there that are filled with too many details. Here we are trying to have a product which is very, I would use the word unfussy. It's very simple, and then you are drawn closer to it, and the moment you start investigating, you start noticing some different textures and different appeals of different parts. And let's remember that this is not going to be a luxury motorcycle. This is, in the words of our CXOs, it must be aspirational but approachable. It's something that you're attracted to, but it's at reach. It's not out of reach. So hopefully it's a proposition that our customers will appreciate very much. Everything has been measured. The engine capacity will not scare people who have our current 350s and 500 cc's, and at the same time, people with big bikes that will not consider this is a joke. The middle segment.
Serious.
The middle segment is what we want. Bikes don't need to weigh 250 kilograms and have 300 horsepower to it.
No.
This is perfectly good fun. Even with a passenger, you can go anywhere you want.
Yeah, I love this idea of the fun, to have fun with the bike. It's not necessary to run at 300 kilometers per hour
and the same, performance is adequate. I think the performance is 45.4. Well, anyway, it's around mid 40s horsepower, and the reason is to capture the European new biker segment. So people who just passed their driver's license, they can immediately move to a serious bike. I think there's a lot of people that get into motorcycling later in their life, or maybe young ladies or whatever, and they always get some second best. It's like they're not important, and they get like a second class of motorcycle. No, they should get the first class.
First class.
They should have a motorcycle which is the best that they can get for their class, and hopefully this is it.
And how easy is to handle the bike? I don't know if you work in the frame.
It's very, very flickable. Look, I mean, what I can tell you, it's on 18s, so it's very stable. The width of the rear tire is 130, so it doesn't have, everybody likes these very, very wide tires, but they actually compromise the behavior on the road. This is, very predictable and safe. We have very, very experienced chassis engineers, and they're very strict. Their standards are very, very high, making sure that the bike behaves as it should. With one difference. That's something that we debated a lot, whether to have or not. The original Interceptor had an oval feature around here, and our classics are just a very simple teardrop. So we wanted to make sure that we differentiate this from the classics, which is why, after much deliberation, should we do it with or without, we have decided to include this feature of the knee scoops, and that is to give an immediate and very clear separation from the classic. I think we wanted people to walk in our showrooms and to immediately be able to tell one from the other, and that is why it's got a knee scoop.
This part, this protection for the engine is...
that's an accessory. It's an accessory.
It's not part of the bike.
No, as you can see, here you feature the big accessory guard, which is going to be great, for touring, but especially for India. We expect this will be almost standard fitment, as you can see on all the classic around the road. If you go to the Continental GT, you will see the much smaller version of the engine protectors, which finished like it is in polished. It blends in, and it's almost as if it was designed with the engine.
It's beautiful. Maybe a chrome there, I don't know. I don't like the protection. But,
Again, you
but
know,
people-
the bike doesn't come with them.
Yeah.
But you know, if you've ridden motorcycle in India, I can see why.
All bikes have the big one.
Yeah, I live in England, but you know, if I was living here, I would have it with a big protection.
Yeah. Okay, Filippo. Thank you for your time. It was
My pleasure and my duty.
Thank you very much. Big pleasure.